Awesome, I think we're live. Let me just open up this chat and we can go ahead and get started. Awesome, I think we are live. But yeah, how's everybody doing today? We got quite a bit of people today. I hope we have some case studies to review because I really only have one trade, but we can go over some of the price action I was looking at over the past week. But other than that, let me just make a quick post and we can get started. But yeah, I hope we have some case studies for today. I know Ray's dropped his. Okay. Awesome. See if we have anybody on here. No. If you guys can see me and hear me from the YouTube stream, and if somebody could let me know, that would be awesome. If not, it's all good. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started. This should be recording. Bit of a tough week this week, I will say so for myself, especially because you guys know that I've really fully transitioned over to just trading gold. Now, the only problems with that, right, is not necessarily a problem, but more so kind of just a shift that I have to make alongside with sticking to solely one pair is just the fact that, for example, if you guys remember, whenever I was only trading AU, EU, GU, which is a couple months ago, we did that over the span of like a year, right? The main issue, or one of the main characteristics that I found with that was that I didn't like to trade Mondays and Fridays because that was the source of the majority of my losses at that time. But now I'm really starting to kind of reevaluate that and kind of just, it's not something that I want to stick to. The only reason why I don't want to stick to something like that is just because now I'm not even looking at those previous assets. I'm now only looking at gold. So I guess the only way to, I guess, kind of fully confirm that and kind of just give myself the permission to come back into trading Mondays and Fridays, I'm kind of gonna have to, go through maybe 4 to 6 months of previous price action, see what types of opportunities were given to me from a scalp sense on each day during each week, and pretty much just gonna go based on that because the style itself hasn't changed, right? We trade the same way, right? The same models. Yes, we've added the sweep model over the past 6 months or so, but for the most part, the general style has pretty much been the same: direction, liquidity, execution, right? Market structure is probably one of the biggest things within the style. Two is just the entry models, right? Because if you get the entry model on the right direction, all you need to find is the target, but targets are usually just solidified points or any points of liquidity, right? So that's probably going to be something I'm going to try to do hopefully over the next week or so. If not, then I'm going to try to rush that because it's not something that I want to hold off on, especially because this week there was some very good moves on Monday and Friday. So yeah, let's go ahead and go through today or this week's price action. So the only day I traded was, I believe, yesterday. Yeah, it was Thursday. So we'll go ahead and start off with Monday and then we'll go from there. Yeah, no worries, man. You're not late. Okay, stream is good. Perfect. So starting off with Monday, right? I actually didn't look at the charts much on Monday. what I was spectating was what happened after session, which was, well, not after session, but during the session, but I spectated it after session. And I did find some very cool opportunities because, or just one cool opportunity. So whenever I'm looking at this at the time, I know that I'm technically bullish, right? So unless this low is taken out, I really don't even want to justify any type of selling movement. And if this low was to have been taken out, by the time it's taken out, more than likely my timings would have been off and I probably wouldn't have even looked for something during the day. So I kind of have to zoom in here, right? So I can actually come in here. So what I was looking at the time, right, there was no executions. I didn't even look at this, if I'm being honest, with the intention of trading. I was just kind of looking at price action, seeing what can happen. And I did find something interesting here that I did show the private Discord, right, which was an internal OFD/SD located here. And I'll tell you guys why this made sense to me at the time, because we know that the external was bullish, the internal though is bearish, right? So we have high low retracement. Let me note that for you all. High low retracement, right? Once this is broken, then obviously the pullback high is solidified. So once that pullback high has been solidified, we can anticipate this to be ran. So because here we have a sign of unwillingness, and why do I say it's a point of unwillingness? I say that because there is a break here, there is a leg here, and so once that leg breaks, this is now a sign of unwillingness because it is now confirmed to not want to break the previous low. So as soon as I note that, right, this entire region now becomes a sell to buy model, right? The sell to buy model is now shown here, right? So there's a sell to buy model. We have a sign of unwillingness. We come back, but this is still an internal break, right? So technically I still have to force the continuation aspect of it, because from the internal basis, let me actually do a different color. From the internal basis, right, there is a break here, right? And then there's a break here. So we still have a solidified range, at least from a micro sense, that is still bearish, meaning that as we're coming into the premiums, I still have to anticipate the continuation to continue unless there is now a sign of unwillingness here. If there is now a sign of unwillingness here, then I can justify us to at least take out this previous high, right? Which would also mean that we would come back into the external ranges, premium pricing, which means you could justify some type of sell down the line. But we're not there at the time, right? So once we begin to zoom in, right, we anticipated the sell to buy, which created a sign of unwillingness. Right now, internally, we have to anticipate, right, the pullback high to still take out a low. So what are we going to measure here is the order flow. So, right, the order flow internally is still high into low into retracement, meaning I still have to anticipate the downside move. So I see that there is a reaction from some type of bullish POI here. That reaction is then confirmed here, right? We come into the POI and then we give the CBOS after the reaction of the POI, which confirms it as a correct POI, right? But once we break through, not only is that a sign of order flow disruption, but it's also structural disruption because we have high, low retracement, solidification of the pullback, and then a break. So two models are in play here. And I actually saw this as a potential opportunity. Let me actually delete this stuff to make it a bit more cleaner for you all. I actually saw this as an opportunity to go long, and I'm also going to go solely on the sell to buy move because that is what created the disruption, both structural and order flow disruption, right? And you can be aggressive or you could be very conservative, right? But that would be to aim for here, and that to me is a decent opportunity because if you go with the aggressive stop loss, then this is about a 1 to 4 in the span of about 30 minutes. So I thought this was a very good opportunity on Monday, but obviously what I do like about the scalping is that we can have an internal move, even though for the session we can be incorrect. And why do I mean incorrect? Because if we are to take this all out, and if we were to come out of replay mode here, then during that day, which was one day, we came back into, right, the buy to sell region, and that gave you a move into the downside. Now, the reason why I wasn't looking for anything here was just because I didn't see any transition. Like, if we were to trade this at the time, this is internally bullish, right? So the only way I could have sold is if I see some type of reaction up, down to give me a potential structural disruption, or if that's in order for disruption, let's say there's a reaction from here, then I can justify the bearish move. But as you can see, nothing was ever taken, right? So for the session, that was kind of just wraps for the day, right? So next comes Tuesday. Let me see. Tuesday, also very interesting. I was actually really looking to be long for the day. I didn't take a screenshot of what I was looking at for the day, but what I was pretty much looking at was solely one thing. And that is, we can delete this, delete this. What I was looking at, right, is the fact that we have, right, a bearish structural range, right? I'm anticipating this to be a pullback, right? So we have a pullback high, high, low, retracement, break. So once the break happens, then I'm anticipating this high to then come into run this low. So because we did not run the low, we actually left equal lows. Right, we left equal lows, and then we gave a break internally. I can show you guys that break here. Right, so the internal break causes this to be unwillingness, and because this is unwillingness, meaning we did not break the previous low, right, this is now equal lows. But more importantly, it's showing me that we cannot be internally bullish or internally bearish, at least for the session, just because we have the pullback, which did not break the previous low. So if this was to break the previous low, then we can come back into the buy to sell here, right, and then come lower. And if you guys don't understand what I mean with that, if this was to have broken lower, we can then come back into the buy to sell and continue lower, right? But because this did not even sweep, even if it would have swept, it would have been more of a confirmation for us to buy. But just the fact that we did not substantially break a previous low, that is what's telling me that we are not bearish, therefore we must be bullish. Right, so my entire move for the day, excuse me, was that I was looking for this point of interest, which some people in the private group did trade. You guys traded the entire POI, and then I believe you guys went for the previous highs over here. Right, this was essentially the entire move for the day that we were looking at, or that they were looking at, and this was a solid trade, right? More of an intraday trade. This is more of an M15 move, I would say. M10, sorry. More of an M10 move, yep. See, so this technically, based on the rule set, it is correct. This is technically how you should be going about these scenarios. It's just that I'm looking at, obviously, right, M1, and I'm looking at my scalp timeframes, and I'm more so referring this as a type of higher time frame point of interest, and I'm looking for the internal move. So the only thing that sucked here for me was that, obviously, in order to get an entry, I need some type of model internally, because I know that the internal is bearish, because we have to be bearish in order to reach this POI. So, right, as soon as we have the CBOS, right, the only way I could have probably entered is if we had a reaction, right, because that shows to me that we have an intent to continue lower based on the internal structure. And if then that was to break, and then I just take the sell to buy, and that would be a potential disruption model, in my opinion. So unfortunately, that just did not happen. And I felt as if I was to kind of just force this, right, maybe had a failed reaction, low into high, and then take the POI here, I could have aimed for here. I just thought that would have been kind of chasing, right? The only real scenario when I looked back at the time was potentially here. and it would have been a great scenario. It would have been a great scenario. I just thought this was a bit rushed for me, just because I didn't see any type of entry model, you know, to give me that conviction to get in. So unfortunately, just missed out on the day, even though I had the right bias based on the M5 POI. So there's some people that traded the full POI, or there's other people like me who just didn't catch an entry because there was no internal transition. So either way, it's all good. All right, now comes Wednesday, and this was the first day I was actually looking to take a position, just like I was on Tuesday, right? And I was looking at this, right? This was my scenario for the day. And I'll show you guys the full case, right? But at the moment, what I was anticipating, right, is a sweep model. Why I was anticipating a sweep model is because, yes, we have the internal range here, but I don't think this is a bullish range. See, yeah, it was actually a bearish range, right? So I'll show you guys why this had a sweep model. We'll come back to that. I'll show you guys why this was a sweep model here. So we had a bearish range, high, low, retracement. So I know that this retracement, after we have this big substantial break, gold spot is XAU. Yes, bro, it is XAU. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it clearly says right here. Okay, so back to this. So at the time, I was anticipating, right, the high into the low into the retracement. So after we had confirmed, I'm anticipating the internal range to come and pursue this previous low, because if we are to continue, right, a trending market, then I have to anticipate this to take this out, right? I have to anticipate that. So once I saw that we swept a previous low, which this was, I believe, some type of news event, I believe, I'm not fully sure. Doesn't really matter either way. But the fact that we swept a very significant low, this is significant because it is solidified, as internally there are structure breaks. There was a movement that started from this low. So once a solidified point was taken, right, I now understand that we have an internal range, high, low, retracement. And what I had kind of assumed here is that because we had internal structure breaks here, because we had broken off from here, I had kind of anticipated this to be a sweep model, because we have just swept a very important point of liquidity, and we have a transition immediately after that. So we had a transition immediately after the sweep, meaning this could now be anticipated as fuel to then take us to previous highs, right? So once this gave the momentum push here, that's why I was really leaning towards the bias here. That's when this move occurred. Once this move occurred, I was waiting for this to come back into my sell to buy, and I was looking to take that into the previous highs here, right? And that would have been about a quick 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 2.5. Yeah, about a 1 to 3, which is also very good. And the reason why I'm aiming for these highs is because there's relative equal highs here. So because there's relative equal highs, this is now a target. So because we have a sweep model in play, this is my reason for executing, and I'm pursuing previous liquidity here, which is pretty much London highs, I believe. Yeah, pretty much London highs. But unfortunately, right, the initial reaction here did not give me the POI that I wanted. So because that was the case, this gave a reaction, meaning this POI to me is no longer tradable, right? It could still work out because it did still work out. But at the time, once we have the reaction, I'm kind of just done. I don't really want to touch it. I want to catch the initial reaction, and I want to catch it right off the bat. I don't want this to react and then come back to my POI, and then we go from there, because in order for me to be conservative here, right, I have to have some type of transition, right? Because we had the reaction, meaning in order for us to reach the POI, this is now broken. So now there's an internal bearish range. So I would need a transition here in order to justify coming back up here, right? So that was a bit unlucky. But still though, I'm happy that the biases were correct, right? Most biases for the week were correct, right? With that being Tuesday and Wednesday. I just didn't get the entry on Wednesday. But now we can move on to Thursday. And Thursday, right, very, very interesting, because once we started with once we came into London, the night of Wednesday, right, we reacted from a very significant POI. And where is that? I believe that's H1. Yeah, about an H1. Right, there's an H1 point of interest. Right, that inefficiency fill here. That gave a very strong reaction, and then that reaction gave a impulsive move into the upside. Right, so how do I read this at the time? I read this at the time, right, as a bearish move that's impulsive here after the reaction of the H1 POI. So I have to anticipate, right, this to be a very important key point of interest, because if we are to continue based on the order flow given here, then this should react from here and continue lower, right? We did break through, right? This is not OFD. We did not have a reaction. This is not OFD, but this is, right, an internal structure break. That is an internal structure break. So how I read that now was that I'm looking at a low into a high after the structure break, right? Because here we can still anticipate a sweep model, right? We can anticipate a sweep model because we swept this high, we gave the internal structure break, and here, if we were to have some type of transition, here, then I can then confirm the sweep model, right? But obviously that did not occur. Right, this is so this transition did not occur, but from here we created a new range. So that new structural range, low into high, right? I was now looking for the continuation to the upside. And I messed up because I really could have taken a position just solely off of the structural range, because this kind of confirms, right, an internal move. This actually came back into the golden pocket, and that actually would have given you the target, which would have been at 0. But unfortunately, right, when I was looking at this, right, I anticipated this as an LGC model. So because we have an LGC model, I would have wanted for this to come back lower. I believe there was an M3 POI, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there was an M3 POI. So I was anticipating after the LGC was confirmed, this would have been given us, or it would have given us pricing back into the point of interest, which would have then led us into creating a new high. And that was the initial position I was looking at for the day. But unfortunately, we came back, we gave a reaction, right? And because we solidified a high here after this structure break, we now have an internal range here. And the reason why I'm still bullish is also because we haven't taken out this significant high. So I think that there really is no reaction from any type of POI here. So I'm thinking these are potentially relative equal highs. So if I'm still continuing internal order flow, then I can anticipate this move to continue higher, which is what I was looking at here. No, not here. Which is what I was anticipating at the time here. This was my one position of the week. And I was looking for this to continue into creating a new high, or at least sweeping the previous high, right? And this was the one mistake I will say I kind of made here was that there was no true model at play. Maybe it was a bit hasty of me. Maybe I was being a bit too greedy because I didn't get the initial move that I wanted. But that's okay. It is what it is. I accepted my risk, and I understood that based at the point of this trade, right, it makes sense for this to continue higher, right? And unfortunately, this gave a reaction which allowed me to move my stop loss. Right, we had the reaction of the POI. That reaction means that the POI was correct. It was valid. And because we had this reaction, I could move my trailed stop here, right? Not to mention there is a reaction of a point of interest here. So I cannot really move my stop loss, or I cannot really move my trailed stop anymore until we at least come up back up here. Excuse me. So as you can see, there's a POI and there is a valid reaction here, right? But unfortunately, this almost gave me the follow through that I wanted, but it just wasn't meant to be. And it just shows that I was wrong with the timing. So because my trailed stop was then taken out, right? This now is a sign of structural disruption. Why? Because we have low, high, retracement, right? And then once this internal range gives right, and into the internal reaction, and then breaks through, or breaks through here, sorry, then this now converts into bearish, right? But unfortunately, it was already pretty late in the day. You guys know it was already 2 p.m. at the time. It's not really something I want to pursue because I've taken my loss, and it's already really late in the day. So it's just, I'm not really trying to chase this. But unfortunately, right, due to the disruption here, this is now a point of interest for us to come lower into here, right? And that would have been a play that I would have taken if it was still early in the day. But unfortunately, right, it came back into doing exactly pretty much what we said, right? Pretty much coming back down here, right? Because there is a failed continuation, structural disruption, the model here, internal model, external target. So this would have been pretty much a perfect trade. And there was actually an internal transition as well. So a bit of a mistake on my end, right? No winners this week, but it is what it is, and that's okay. Because obviously the previous weeks have been very, very well. So the reason for this here, right, I was pretty much just watching this play out in real time. I just, like I said, I didn't want to trade just because it was already very late in the day. Like the new day is going to open in 2 hours. So we came back into the POI that caused my stop loss here. And then the internal reaction was shown once we take this and we also take this. So the reason why I'm noting this as a POI is because there is an internal micro break. So I'm looking at this as high, low, retracement, and then we're obviously aiming for the external target because this is an internal model. So a bit of a bummer. It is what it is, like I said, but definitely could have done better with what I had there. And that can come, excuse me, that now brings us to Friday, which is here. Right. Today was very interesting, actually. Like I said, I don't trade Mondays or Fridays, but I'm really wanting to change that, especially because this week, if I would have traded Monday and Friday, I would have been fine. Whereas Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the setups were a bit not as clear. So obviously, we're coming into London session, and then we start into New York session. So before I went to sleep, which is around here-ish, I did note this very big impulsive move to the upside from the Tokyo session, and I did read this as a sell to buy region. So I knew that at the time, based on this break, if we were to come back to highs, this would give a reaction, right? And then we would continue higher. But unfortunately, the same thing happened that happened on Wednesday, where we gave the reaction before it came back into the POI, because that makes it a little bit less valid. Let me remove this. And what do I mean by that? There is an impulsive move here. So I want this high to pull back into the sell to buy here in order for us to anticipate TP1, TP2, right? But unfortunately, this gave the reaction before. So we did come back into the POI. There was a reaction from the POI, which makes it completely valid, right? It's just that I don't like the reaction before the POI because it just kind of ruins the consistency of it. And just based on that, we came back into this trading, or we came back into discounted levels, and we can see that there is a POI here, but this is not a POI that technically I can trade. I cannot trade this because technically we're still low, high, retracement. I still have to anticipate this high to be ran. So at the time, I still cannot really sell here. It doesn't make sense to sell here, right? Internally, low into high, still bullish. So we do have a break here, CBOS, right? So because we have a CBOS, I still have to anticipate this low to potentially go higher. So once that creates unwillingness and a break, this is now when I can start looking for any type of bearish move. And if I'm looking for a bearish move, I can aim for the previous low because we have a sign of unwillingness after this break. So if we're not going to break the highs, we're going to break the lows. So this has to be my target of the day. or at least my short-term move of the day, sorry. So from here, there was one opportunity here based on the internal structural range after unwillingness was confirmed. And if that was not able to be caught, then there was also an M5 POI that was created after a new range based on the reaction of the POI. So 2 opportunities here, and both of these were very, very well. It just depends on which scale you're looking at this from, whether it's just the scalp or if you're also looking at the intraday, because obviously position 1 is a 1 to 3.75 here. Position 2 could have been a 3.5, sorry, right? But this could have also been, right, internal model, external target, and you could have also extended that down here, right, which would have been an 8 to 1, or even a 1, or even a 9 to 1, you know. So this is what's kind of what's in my head right now. It's I want to come back and backtest probably the last 4 to 6 months, see if there's any good opportunities between Monday through Friday, not just Tuesday through Thursday, and kind of just go from there, right? Because like I said, the style has not changed. The only thing that's changed is the type of asset that I trade and the amount of assets that I trade. So I'm really trying to stick to only one, and then kind of just go from there. So that concludes my review for today. Any questions in terms of that? Which one are you talking about, Tam?
Your Thursday loss.
Thursday loss, yeah. Oh, I will also tell you something that I noted as to why this could have failed as well. Something I didn't note here is this reaction OFD. So even if I would have just played based on that narrative, because we can now anticipate this to be unwillingness, I could have easily used the buy to sell here as a reason to continue lower, and that would have been a monster trade, right? But at the time, this is still bullish, and I thought this was a bit risky. But yeah, let's see. Is bearish? Is this what you're referring to here? The internal being bearish here?
Yeah.
Technically correct, but the OFD is the bigger reason here, in my opinion. The OFD could have given me a perimeter to then create the buy to sell, like I said. But we came into this reaction, right? It did tap it. And that would have then created the bearish structural range, which would have made this semi-conservative, and then this, right, pretty much the best trade of the day, because that would have then pursued a previous low. But yeah, overall, could have done a little bit better. You used to trade EU and AU. Yeah, I used to only trade EU, AU, and I did tell you guys, right, the reasons why I kind of stopped that was it's because the difference with trading a low volatility asset to a high volatility asset, right? If I'm looking at gold, my stop losses can go from anywhere from like 10 to 20, 25 pips. Whereas with EU, AU, or especially with AU, it could really range from like 2 to 7, right? So because that is the case with AU, my commissions will be larger, right? I'm also looking at using way higher lot sizes in comparison to gold, meaning there could be more slippage involved. So I just think if an asset moves more, right, as long as I'm still following my plan, the ratios will be the same. What do I mean by ratios? The risk to rewards. They will be the same, but my commissions and the lot sizes that I'm using will be smaller. Do you have a Discord? Yeah, the free Discord. I can send you the link here. Sorry, guys. That's from the YouTube chat. That's the free Discord. But yeah, before we get to case studies, I do want to review the small announcement that we talked about a bit last week, and pretty much kind of solidifying what I'm going to do with the next group. This is, if you're in the private group, disregard this message. My message to you, will be sent probably an hour or so after after we finish this Zoom or this call. But I will tell you guys pretty much the general gist of what we'll be doing now with RCV. And I haven't updated my site. I will be doing that later today / early tomorrow. But as you guys know, I want to keep these calls public and free. Why? Because at the end of the day, right, I kind of want to knock out as many stones with one bird as possible, or as many birds with one stone as possible. Sorry, completely chopped that up. And so rather than doing Zooms for the public and then Zooms for the private, just make it all together, man. It's no big deal. There's more people on the calls. There's more engagement. There's more case studies being shown, right? And it's less time on my end. So I'm going to keep these calls pretty much public for the next whoever knows. It does. I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to do it for yet, but I want to keep doing these on a consistent basis. So outside of these weekly webinars, the only things that I can really offer people are the private Discord, which I would go into detail here, which is pretty much the main thing that we're going to talk about right now, is the playbook, the book, right? Any type of one-on-ones or one-to-manys. Let's say you have a group of 3 people that want a session. If you guys want to do it together, then we can negotiate the pricing here, right? The pricing here is off, right? The new pricing is on the Discord. If you go on the Discord, it's less than this. Also, if you guys want me to review your journals outside of the Zooms, right, I have that here, and then we have the free Discord. And then obviously we'll be working on workshops over the next couple of weeks. This is something that I'm pretty much going to be putting a lot of my focus to outside of these Zooms. So yeah, definitely give me like 1 or 2 more weeks and I'll get you all the details with this. But when it comes to the private Discord, this is pretty much what we're going to transition to. Like I said, if you're in the private Discord, your announcement will come afterwards, and it's like, I don't want to say better than this, but it's better. But in terms of the private Discord, I'm going to step away from doing subscriptions. I just think they're a bit of a hassle, and really it's not worth the trouble. So rather than trying to push subscriptions and kind of filter people in and out as they come, I'm going to go back into the one-time fee model. And the reason why I want to do that as well is because the community, right, is still active today, which is incredible to me, because it's been, what, 5 years now? That there's some of these people have been in here for 5 years, some people have been in there for 2 years, and the majority about in between there, right? There aren't that many newbies in there, right? So I want to continue to provide the free value, and if people want to obviously join the private group, it will now only be $300 for these people. And then if you were to ask me, well, what's the difference now? Because obviously I'm doing these Zooms for free, and I'm doing, most of the stuff for free now. You really don't need to join. But it's more so for you. If you think that you want to be a part of a community of people that are relatively like-minded to you, and there's people that have been pretty much trading the same style with me for the past 5 years, if you want to be immersed in that type of environment, then that is your reason for joining, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people have noticed this in the free group, is that it could be a lot of messages, man. Like whenever I open up the free chat, sometimes it's just, especially on the Spanish side, I'm like, yo, this is way too many messages. Like I can't be asked to go through all these messages, So whereas with the private Discord, I read every message every single day, right? That's my priority. And if I have to answer there, or if I have to give some type of comment, I will probably give you a comment there. So not only is, in my opinion, the biggest difference with the private group into the public group, right, is the level of maturity and also the prioritization of what we're trading, right? Obviously, I'm seeing a whole bunch of different stuff in the free chat, which is 100% understandable. People trade different ways. People learn different things from different people. But realistically, like if you show me something that I do not use, I might take it into consideration, but more than likely I won't even acknowledge you. Like I don't care to convert you into what I use. I don't care to learn what you know, because what I'm doing is working, right? So I just probably won't even acknowledge you. So for the most part, I will say that if people want to come into the group, that's perfect. And also I know that there's also like a couple of groups of people in the free channel So if you guys want to join together, hey, I am gonna do a group buy option where if you guys come to me with a group, then hey, we can renegotiate, and I think that'll be a very big thing, especially because I do know about 5 to 10 people in the free chat that would be great fits for the private chat. So if you guys are interested in that, 100% come in, and then obviously it will have free access to the Visionary Vault while that's still around. Like I said, we're going to be transitioning outside of that. But that is something we're working on. And if you're in the private group, I'll tell you guys what that thing is in your announcement. But I won't be showing that announcement here. So that's kind of just what I want to run through here today. The goal now is to pretty much make the private Discord super niche, right? Because obviously I don't really promote it. So if anybody wants to join that, they will more than likely enjoy it. And it's obviously now it's a one-time thing now. So that'll be taken care of. I want to keep running these Zooms on Fridays, and I want to do Spanish on Thursdays, and just run workshops every 2 to 3 weeks, right? Going over certain topics that maybe you guys aren't proficient with, that we can obviously help out with. So though I only have 3 so far, which is market structure, models, and psychology, right? Any topics after that we can discuss, and we can figure out, see if there's enough demand for it, right? But what do you guys think of everything I just said? Yeah, Alex, don't worry about this message. Worry about the private message, which I'm gonna do later today. That one's more specifically for you. It does save a lot of money in the long run too, and it also just maintains the culture. Like the culture is something that I definitely denied, and the only reason why I used to deny and neglect it was because it came very easy. Like we've always had a decent culture, or decent to good culture within the RCV group, whether it's back in 2019 when we were in IML, to once we created RCV in 2020, to now today in 2024, about almost on the way to 2025, right? The culture has remained relatively consistent, and there's people in there that have, that have came from pretty much zero and are now making X amount of dollars on X amount of days, and there's other people who found a lot of success, but they are now kind of just doing their own thing. They weren't on Discord, they don't contact me, they're just out doing their own thing. And that was a problem that I didn't anticipate, which is also, it goes against the subscription model, because if I'm cycling through people in and out, and then also there's people who do succeed and just kind of go doing their own thing, then it'll diminish the amount of people that are active. And if there's less people that are active, then the culture will, quote unquote, drop, right? Oh, yes. I actually didn't say that. So when people join now, based on the pricing structure here, I will offer about a 50%. This is still kind of up in the book. I mean, I'm still kind of figuring this out. I don't know if these numbers will be concrete. If it's 10 and 50, maybe I'll do 30 and 10. But I will be giving out a discount for the book if you are to join the Discord on lifetime, right? And then obviously as people join, I will have to increase this price, just because I don't want it to overflow to the point where it becomes like the free chat where it's a lot of messages on certain days. So yeah, it'll be a work in progress, but the full details to this will probably be posted today or tomorrow. This is just kind of a heads up for you guys. Is there any special requirement? Brother, please just read this. Just read this. What do you mean, is there any special requirement? Just read this. Anyways. You like that these models apply so well within the futures realm. They apply everywhere, bro. Like, yo, do you guys not remember when we looked at Bitcoin like a couple of weeks ago? Do you guys not? Does anybody remember this? Let's pull it up. Remember this? I forgot who brought this up to me. But bro, look at this. Like, we charted. I think this was around here. This charted up, and this is now looking bearish. Like, this goes across the board. If it works on futures and it works on crypto, it probably works on anything, right? I haven't traded options. I've never been an options trader, right? We have done CFDs. It works on CFDs. Yeah. So this works across the board, right? And it just really just shows the evolution of the style, because you guys know that we used to trade like this was one of the SC rules, which was that the SC cannot cut price, right? And that was a very confusing rule for certain people back in the day, and that just means that this POI cannot cut price, right? This POI, if we were to use this POI, it cuts price, or price cuts it, so it's already invalid. But now we don't focus on the immediate POI, we just focus on the general buy to sell. So that's what creates this entire perimeter. And you can see this is pretty much continuing lower, at least to here. After this breaks, we don't know what's gonna happen. But if we break here, that's now OFD, and this will be bearish, at least to this region here. But yeah, like this works across the board, and it's I don't want to say that it, like, something I never want to say is this is how the markets move. I think that's bullshit. I think if anybody tells you that's kind of bullshit, just because nobody knows that, and if somebody does know that, they're probably after your neck. So I'm a firm believer, right, that the strategy does not make the trader makes the strategy. And you guys know that I've pretty much evolved this style over the past couple of years to where it's relatively easily digestible to majority of people who have some type of experience, right? If you have some type of experience, you can more than likely follow what I'm doing and maybe imitate it, right? Because I do see a lot of people, sending over case studies that are actually good. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these case studies, unless you guys have some questions in regards to this. Each year you've adapted and changed a few things. I have to, bro. You have to do that, bro. It's because, like, look, I was watching this video yesterday. You guys should watch this video too. You guys should watch this. It's Iman's most recent video. Excellent video. This. And he made some very, very good points in this video. The one I'm going to speak of is that he noticed that the person who is ready to pretty much go on his downfall is the person that thinks that he's pretty much figured it all out, right? And unfortunately, nobody ever completely figures it out with anything, right? Whether it's running a business, whether it's trading, whether it's learning a skill, whether it's whether it's having a kid. Like I don't hold any type of remorse towards my parents, especially because I was the firstborn, right? When they had me younger than I am now. Like, I can only assume what they were thinking at the time. You know what I mean? Like they did they did the best that they could with what they had. So I cannot hold any remorse to that. And like, you just have to understand that people do not fully figure it out. You never fully figure it out. So because you never fully figure it out, you're either improving or you're declining. There is no in the middle, right? There is no in the middle, because the second you think you've made it, you start to decline. So you have to continue to improve. You have to continue to change. You have to continue to tweak, to test, to do something, right? And that's also why I like doing these calls, because it's relatively like helpful to me as well. Like, if I can explain what I'm doing in a coherent way, then that only reemphasizes my skill set, right? So you have to continue to evolve. Yep. It's evolve or die, basically. That's life for you, buddy. Like, that's life. Off-White and even had many different logos and stuff Off-White. I mean, the results speak. Yeah, man, exactly. Like, most people become billionaires because one project popped off, yet they have a graveyard of failed ventures, hundreds, you know, like, you have to continue to improve because you also don't know how high you can go. You don't know how far you can go. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because that can get into a lot of things, right? But moral of the story is you have to evolve or you decline, right? You go up or you go down. And it might not be that black and white, but it kind of is to me. Right, so let's go ahead and go through these case studies. Let me see. But yeah, that's just this is like my relative rough draft. If I change the price, it won't be more than like 350. But that will be the starting point, and then after like let's say 15 to 25 people, then I'll increase it 50 bucks, 50 bucks, 50 bucks. That's kind of the plan. So hopefully we get some people here, and obviously for the people in the free chat, if you guys have a group of friends in there, or just talk to them, get a group chat going, and maybe we can negotiate something. Yeah, let's go ahead and go through these case studies. Let me go through Rage's first. Let's see. Where are they? If I might be missing them here. If somebody can tag me on his case studies, that would be perfect. Ah, here we go. Found him. You see what I mean? Like with overflowing of messages, and this is like the Zoom started, pretty much right after you sent these messages. So I'm gonna go through these first, and then I will go through the ones you guys post. So bear with me for a sec, please. Okay. Where is my... Okay, so I understand there is a bearish range here. There is a sign of unwillingness. We have a break here. But there's also potentially OFD. Okay. So you waited for a high to be broken here, which solidifies this low, which means that is a low high retracement unwillingness break. And you were looking for the continuation here. These scenarios are super awkward. The Zoom will be uploaded right after. Bro, this is streamed on YouTube. All my streams are saved. If you go here, I'll come back just so you can show this. If you go to my channel, all the lives are here. But yeah, anyways, back here. The problem with these scenarios that I hate is that there's no point of interest, there is no turbulence point here, there's nothing of such, right? And if you were to go based on buy to sell, this is the entire buy to sell, right? Which means that you would have to use this entire perimeter, which is about a 1-to-1, which is obviously not ideal, right? So these are super awkward. This is probably one I probably would have missed out on just because I don't see anything. Or if I would have had maybe something else, you know, then I can anticipate this, right? So this I thought was a bit aggressive. Yeah, I also don't like, note this, I don't like that this reacted, gave the move to the downside, and then gave up, because that's now, yep, a sign of unwillingness, and it's also a bullish LG, which means now you need this reaction to kind of just break here and then go lower. So I think this is a bit aggressive if you were to enter. But yeah, if there was a reaction he didn't enter, then that's perfect. Yeah, you see, because there's the reaction comes before the POI, so kind of just, yeah, done with that. Next one, this is a win. Okay, this is textbook. I like this. So this solidifies this here, and then we have the break, and then there's a bunch of no man's land, kind of just don't care about this, don't care about this. Okay, so if I'm looking at here, did this break anything here? No, it did not. So there's relative equal lows here, and then there's a break here. But how we break here is important. That's what pretty much gives us whether or not we're gonna have an entry or not. Okay, so we have technically internal bearish here. Yep, SD there, that's correct. Meaning you now have low and too high, low and too high. But you have the LGC model. Yeah, so LGC is in play. And you just took it based on the POI. This is textbook. This is a perfect trade. Right, because you're obviously directionally bullish. You know that the high has been solidified. So if you were to have a transition, right, and then the model, then you can aim for the previous high. So this is perfect trade. Yeah, perfect trade. I probably wouldn't have trailed my stop. Okay, so here, right, I could have trailed my stop here after this breaks because there is a POI here and then there's a reaction, so there's internal OFD. So you could have even taken another position based on the sell to buy and then aim for the same target. But that allows me to move my stop from here to here. And then I do like that we have a CBOS continuation, so I can move my trailed stop here. And then there's another CBOS continuation, which means I could trail my stop here. So that's good. Okay, directionally bearish. Liquidity grab here, liquidity grab there. High into low into retracement. OFD because there's a confirmation there. Yes. Yes, this is all correct. I just don't think it reached your entry. Yeah, I would have, if this was to have worked, then this pullback here needs to tap the buy to sell, and then you can aim for here. Right, unfortunately, it gave you the reaction before the POI, so now kind of just Yeah, it's unfortunate because if this would have tapped here and then we have the CBOS continuation, I can now move my trailed stop here, so it's unlucky. It's unlucky. Yep, we came back into the POI. Yep, perfect. So this just emphasizes why if you get the reaction before the POI, that means that once it comes back to the POI, it could still work. It's just less probable. So kind of just stay away. LGC, yeah. So bearish pullback, high is confirmed. Internal bullish structure, that now gives you a move to the downside, and then you enter based on the model. Yep, that makes sense. Now let's see if this actually stands. It hopefully does, but it looks valid to me. This does look pretty textbook because we do have the LGC, the sign of unwillingness. We have the pullback high, sign of unwillingness, LGC model. So we should at least come here. And then from here, we could either take a partial or move my stop. And yeah, perfect. Ooh, excuse me. But yeah, that's perfect. And it even gave a second re-entry with the buy to sell here.
Fredo.
Yep.
I saw this as well, but I still didn't understand why would sell, you know, in that region and not wait for the break of the last leg, if you see what I'm
Which
saying.
one?
Like,
This one?
just the other high, the other low, sorry, the other low.
This one?
No, before that one.
This one?
No,
You're talking about here?
you see how you went low, high, retracement, and then a push up, push down. Literally, oh my gosh. Yeah. But
Yep.
then when you try annotate, hold on. I'm sorry. That low. I would have waited for that low
Yeah,
to
so
break first.
we can actually and I can describe everything here. So we have bearish range, low, pullback is solidified. So because we have this break, this is technically unwillingness. So now in order to find a bearish move, we need a bearish transition. So there is a low into a high, into a retracement, right? And then you can see that there's unwillingness. There's a POI here that gave a reaction and failed. So that's technically OFD. But more importantly, let me take this off. More importantly, because this gives us the essentially a reaction. Where is this reaction coming from? You could say arguably that this is a sell to buy move. So because we have right the LG in play and we break through the POI, that shows to me that because this breaks, this is now low, high, retracement, unwillingness, break.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
And there's a high momentum move as well. The high momentum is usually a big telltale. Because if you have an engulfing or you have high momentum like this, it leaves behind an efficiency, which means you can kind of guarantee yourself to come back into the buy to sell so that you can then pursue lows. So this is a great trade.
All right, thanks.
All right, that concludes his. Let's see. Bullish move. Once this breaks, that solidifies this as a pullback low. It's okay. Still the same thing. So once this creates a structural disruption, that creates an internal range. But unfortunately, the range is not solidified here. Solidified here. But you now have an internal range there as well, high and too low. So okay. So I see what you're seeing here. You waited for the internal transition, and you're aiming for the external target. So here's the problem that I have with these positions, and I know that you're really good at doing these, but I always have a problem with these. Let me actually pull that up again. Right? If, in my opinion, if you have an internal model not give you the complete impulse into the downside, and it does all this stuff in between, that shows to me you're probably not using the quote unquote right perimeter, right? Because if I'm using right this move, my invalidation is still here, and the problem is that this can come in, take out your stop loss without invalidating the invalidation, and then still give your TP, which is why I'm always all about internal models, external targets, right? Not internal models, external of external target, right? That's pretty much the only thing that I don't like. Just because if you focus on the micro and then you're looking at a major intraday target, there's a lot in between that, right? So a lot has to go right that isn't in your control for this trade to reach this target, which is why the optimal target based on the micro model is here, right? At most here, right? Because that gives you the full move in one impulse, and that shows to me internal model, external target, not internal model, external of the external target. Does that make sense? Oops, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Right, because once this target was met here, right, once this target was met, this liquidity has been swept, meaning you now have fuel to go in the opposite direction. So what happens? You get more fuel, right? And then that's how you can then get another entry here. And then now you can target the external, right? Or at the bare minimum, this, right? So I just see it as this fuel is giving me the momentum to pursue this external low. Whereas now this fuel here is giving me the momentum to pursue this low here. So it's just buy and sell, liquidate, unliquidate, liquidate, unliquidate.
Yeah, the first low that you highlighted, I took, I think, 70%
Mm-hmm.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect. But for me, it's just like, why not just take the whole take profit there? Because you're gonna eat up a swap fee. Let's say it's a Wednesday, you eat up triple swap fees. And then you also are risking now losing the swap fees, getting a break even, or getting a trailed stop, and potentially losing for the trade and losing 30 extra percent profit that you already had guaranteed. That's just my problem, right? Like, we can accept the risk, but we can also manage the risk while we're in the position to where we can optimize the amount of profit that we take, which is why I'm all about holding full volume into your target and then just trailing your stop, because trailing a stop will guarantee less loss slash more win. But yeah, overall, see the entry, not my type of entry, but it is the buy to sell that created the, or this buy to sell mitigated the previous buy to sell, so it is technically valid. Continuing order flow here into the downside. Now, once this has a CBOS and then it breaks through, I can move my stop here, right? So I've now cut the risk from 7 pips to about 2. But yeah, let's see next. Okay, much better. Let's see. So we have the internal bearish range. We have the continuation break of structure. So if we have a transition here, then we can aim for here. I see order flow disruption potentially here. But let's see. I see very aggressive, bro. Very aggressive. Only because, right, this does show that you are giving an unwillingness to continue higher, and this does give you the direction once this breaks. So in my opinion, I probably would have either waited for this to come back into the buy to sell, or I would have just cleared it. Because if this comes back into the buy to sell, I now have an LGC model, right? So this is not an LGC model, right? This is not an LGC model because there's an LG, but we didn't come back into the LG, right? Because we want to take it based on the mitigation, not based on the confirmation, not based on the closure, right? So that's not LGC, right? And the reason why I have to say this, bro, is because I don't want other people to see, like, this may work 100% for you, but if other people try to imitate this, I promise you they won't see the same success, right? So that's why I
Yeah,
have
no,
to point it out. That's why I have to point it out. But yeah,
the
this is not
the
an LGC.
entry the entry without the mitigation, that's I wouldn't consider that LGC now that
Mm-hmm.
you put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did because of the volatility, it was afternoon, so because of the volatility, I
Mm-hmm.
just took it as it broke. So fair enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, overall, the ability to read the direction is good. That's probably the main thing. That's why these types of scenarios are working, because you can tell the direction correctly. right? Which is always why, which is 100% why direction is number one. Then it's understanding liquidity, and then you want to execute. It's like, where are we going, right? When are we going to go there, and how are we going to go there? That's kind of the gist. Yeah, let's see. That concludes that one. OFD, yep, I do see the OFD, that's correct. But once again, bro, this is a reversal. This is why direction is number one. This is still a reversal. I see the OFD, but this OFD is targeting here. You know, it's not going to target up here, right? You have to look at internal target, external. I mean, internal model, external target, not internal model, external of external target, right? Like, it has to be internal model, external target. Yeah, this is 100% reversal. Do not like this trade at all. Do not like it at all. Your TP should have been there. No, your TP should have been here because you have to aim for a point of liquidity, not a point of interest. Point of liquidity. It's just like this model is creating, or it's accumulating, right? But why is it accumulating? Where is it going to go? Which liquidity is it looking for, right? Because this is not, this point of interest is just a continuation play of the original plays, right? It's just of the original trend, I'm sorry, right? But the model here, right, is shown to us so that it can pursue liquidity, so that it can then touch a point of interest and continue lower, right? So your target has to be a point of liquidity, not a point of interest, right? At least as you're first starting, right? At least as you're first starting, because for me, it's just like this model is being built. Like, we're not just copying models just to copy and paste schematics or copy and paste some type of sequence, right? There's logic behind it. There's an idea behind it, right? This OFD is being presented to me so that we can purge this level of liquidity, right? So this level of, or this model, sorry, is pursuing this level of liquidity because there's equal highs resting here and there's a model present here. So that's something I could aim for. But either way, bro, this is 100% a reversal trade. Like, I didn't see it at first here, but you can see it clearly here. Like, this is bearish. Why not look for the CBOS to then give you something so that you can then use an execution to then pursue the continuation, because the continuation is usually going to work out way more often than reversals. So screw reversals as a whole, bro. Screw the reversal, right? We do not have the power, influence, or money to produce these types of moves. So why not work with the trend? You know, it's just the trend is your friend, right? Like, first thing we learn. But yeah, that's a reversal trade. Do not agree with that at all. What? That's annoying. I don't know why your link isn't clicking, bro. I think your link might be wrong. Or something here. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why that first one didn't show. But okay, I see. Now the problem is, why are we aiming here? Why are we aiming here? This is why I'm also against reversals. This is bullish. This is a reversal. Right? Now where are we targeting? Like, if there's a model here, I would aim here, right? Because I don't know what happens after here. This could come into a bullish POI and then go over. This is a reversal. Like, this is a reversal. 100% a reversal. Right? And you got lucky because this broke through, but it didn't fully break through. So like, you cannot anticipate this type of transition at the time of your trade. You cannot anticipate that because only because we don't know if a transition will occur at our entry. That's why our entry is the transition, right? So I wouldn't have sold here. I would have sold if there's a transition somewhere here. That's where I would have sold, because then there is a transition here and it's aiming for a previous low. So that's how I generate my moves. But yeah, I don't like this trade at all. Reversal once again, These reversals, they will burn you eventually. Now let's go to the next. EURNZD, okay, so we have a point of interest. Now it's just why did we enter? Why did we enter here? Right, and here, for me, the target has to be here, right? It could be different because it's EURNZD. I don't trade EURNZD. But let's see this. Right, this entry to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like I don't see a model at play. I don't see how we can replicate the same protocol on a consistent basis. You're just trading a point of interest after a break of structure. That's, in my opinion, very simple. It's what most people want to do. And not to mention, there is high momentum. So it's just like I want to play to my strengths. So if there is low, high, CBOS, retracement, I still have to anticipate this to take out a previous high. So if this is to then give me a move to the downside, then I can look for the continuation, right? Like where would that happen here? Here, this shows that we have unwillingness based on low, high, retracement, break, solidification. This high now becomes unwillingness. So my protocol would probably be anywhere around here because there is an LGC. I would look for this position and I can aim for here. This is my high probability setup, right? Because I waited for the full transition to occur and then I looked for a model as a continuation. And then obviously this internal model, external target. Because we cannot be greedy. Off now, have a good weekend, no worries. But yeah, man, don't be so greedy. You don't need to get high risk to reward, you just need to win trades. And you can learn that now or you can learn that later. But we all learn it eventually. 2, 3. Yeah, and if it's for a swing, okay? If it's for a swing, your stop loss is here. It's not here in the POI. It's at the structure point. This is your invalidation, right? Because very easily you can hit an SL without invalidating the setup. And if you can hit an SL without invalidating a setup, then your SL is not at your invalidation. Yep. Yeah, I think we have last one. Okay. Okay, there's a lot of drawings here, bro. A bit hard to read. Very hard to read. Okay, so next time delete a lot of the, like, make your circle smaller, bro. It'll help me with understanding better. You can make these smaller. It's something that TradingView recently added, where you can make this like way smaller. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate. But there is a move here. There's structural disruption. The structural disruption is to aim for this target here. That target has been met, and then it has an internal model, right? And there's technically a sweep. The reason why I say sweep is because we took out the liquidity, we took out the internal move, which confirms the LG. But because this is also just a CBOS, we have to anticipate this low to still run the high. So once this has unwillingness and a break, then that generates the move. So this is a great move if it was intentional. Right? Because this break of structure, like I said, you still have to anticipate this low to ram the high because this is just a CBOS. So once we have unwillingness and the break, that creates an internal structural range, and that's what you make your move based on, right? Internal model, external target. So this is great. And let's see if we could have trailed the stop here. So let's see. So here we do have a move. No, I probably wouldn't have been able to move it yet. I do see CBOS continuation, so I can then move it here, and then it would have went straight into TP. So overall, this one is good. I like that. It's fine. Okay. So high, low, retracement, unwillingness break, sell to buy, and then you look for the internal model. That's good. Invalidation is good. And yeah, this is great, right? Because you have an internal model, external target. So this is great. Good scenarios. Very good scenarios. Okay, last one. Okay, direction. OFD model in play, and you swept liquidity here. So you swept liquidity. You have the model, the OFD model, yep. So now it's just a matter of finding an entry, or you could have also just used the entire buy to sell, which is here. Right, you could have used the entire buy to sell, and then from here, that internal model, external target. But yeah, I like this. Very good. Right, it just tucks because if you wait for this transition, then yes, you get a higher risk to reward. But these pullbacks are what I don't like, right? This is why I don't like looking for or over detailing here, because if we're looking at this entry, this is the target, right? If you're not trying to use the internal model of the internal model to pursue the external target of the external target, then it's a bit more difficult at that point, right? It's a bit less consistent. That's why I say that, a bit less consistent. But either way, I would have probably used the entire move here, and I would have pursued this, and this is about 1 to 4 maybe. Right, because the last thing I want to do is take a stupid loss. Right, I don't want to lose based on something that's 100% in my control, and your stop loss placement is in your control. But yeah, other than that, are there any more questions, concerns? Any questions, concerns, guys, before we wrap today's call up? Cool, man. No questions, no concerns. If not, we can go ahead and wrap this up for today. We've been on for an hour and a half. Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you guys for hopping on. If we have no more questions, concerns, then I will go ahead and wrap up today's call. And I will post the recording. Well, the recording's already posted on YouTube. You just go to my live streams. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you guys next week.